Welcome back. You're watching News Center. Now, here's a CNBC TV18 exclusive. Google's India head, Preeti Lobana, said that India is at an inflection point when it comes to AI. She expects a $126 billion opportunity by 2030. I started by asking her about the company's latest initiative to help Indian AI startups scale globally.
Firstly, we are super excited about the India AI Impact Summit. And I love the term impact in it because we're completely aligned with the government and the Honorable PM's vision of outcome-based, not just discussions, not announcements, but genuine outcome and impact. That's critical. And if I dare say, we've been in this space for a few years. AI is deeply a part of a lot of our products that consumers love and use. And as we think about the AI Summit and the conversations that are happening in the run-up to that, and we'll continue post that, it is about just continuing to lean into the impact and outcome part. Okay. So when we looked at the conclave today, the AI Startups Conclave, and the announcement we made, look, we have, just as Startup India is completing a decade, tomorrow is the celebration, Google for Startups is also completing a decade, and we take pride in that partnership that we've consistently been there. And, we have accelerated some 257 startups with great outcomes, like they raised $4.2 billion in capital, created jobs, moved the economy, and mentored many, many more. Now in the AI era, we looked at our cohort being AI focused when we looked at cohort last year. And what we're hearing from founders, and this is our experience as well, is that there is great, there's no shortfall of ideas, energy, and ambition. So people now, with the help of AI tooling, are going from prompt to prototype, as we call it, building a product. Where people tend to face friction and falter is, how do you then scale beyond a small pilot to really enrolling a very large number of consumers or users on one hand? And for B2Bs, how do you get enterprises to adopt your product, right? And we are seeing that a lot of founders from India have that challenge of getting access to CXOs in, other countries, say the US or Europe. And then in the AI era, trust is a key currency. So you may have a great product, but if I as a founder am selling or talking to a senior leader in a big enterprise, they're going to look at me and say, what's the risk if I adopt this product? How will it integrate with my larger systems? So with that friction, we were finding founders were not able to scale and get that access to bigger markets to, have that global deployment and scale. So the Market Access Program is going to take a set of AI startups. And in addition to our full stack approach of infrastructure and mentoring and all of that, we're going to go that one step further to partner with India to say, hey, let's talk about how do you pitch to enterprises? How do you pitch to enterprises in a different country other than India? How do we take them in partnership with our partners like LTS or TI, Silicon Valley, and using Google's sort of resources or network, give them access to CXOs and enterprises? It gives them a better starting point to win the market and be super successful at real large scale.
Well, that's an interesting challenge you pointed out in terms of moving beyond the product stage and then moving to the scale stage where you're looking to able to reach out and expand. But speaking of takeaways from this morning, there was also this very interesting report by Inc.42, which talked about the road ahead as far as AI in India is concerned. I'd like to draw your attention to one particular figure, which talked about a massive AI opportunity of $126 billion by 2030. When you're looking at this large a market, this large an opportunity, where does that opportunity lie? Are there specific sectors that hold more promise to you?
So, if you look at India in the last few years, we had digitization and we were doing e-commerce on the web. Then came the mobile era. Then you had a bunch of e-commerce companies doing really well. Think of the Flipkarts and all of that. Then you had in the last 2 years the world of hyper-local, quick commerce when you think about the innovation from India. It's only in the relative recent past that we are seeing a lot of founders looking at the possibilities that are now available with AI and to look at areas like health. And we are talking about high resolution scanning, early disease detection, better customer care in hospitals.
Sure.
Optimizing how the customer's journey to a doctor is in a hospital. We're talking about agriculture. The way agriculture works in India is many farmers with small land holdings, maybe literacy levels, digital literacy levels are not high. How can AI provide in a simple and easy manner in their local language, simple to understand way, inputs that will be helpful to them? So now we are seeing the short answer to your question is it's widespread.
Okay.
The world is the stage. The possibilities are endless because AI enables you to create those solutions, which we thought were a little harder to solve. So when you think of agriculture, learning, think of India in tier 3 cities, think of the less advantaged people who will have better personal learning journeys in their own language using AI. So a bunch of founders are looking at the power of linguistic diversity offered by models, looking at very specific use cases and offering solutions. So it's going to be fairly widespread. And we are seeing that adoption at an enterprise level, supply chain. Sustainability is a very big use case of AI when we think about new materials. So how do you translate and take that to actual use cases?
That's interesting. You point out that healthcare, education are some spaces where we could see the impact unfold in the days and weeks and months to come. But looking ahead, in terms of Google's commitment to India, we saw a very big commitment of $15 billion. I was about to say the Vizag data center, but I was corrected by your team by calling it the AI hub. So tell us about this. Why this focus now in 2025 on India market? This, from what I understand, is the largest such facility outside of the United States. So why is that? Why this commitment now to India in 2025?
So
now 2026, actually.
I'll bring you back to what I said earlier, that we've been standing with India for 20 plus years and our investments have been consistent over time, whether it's in skilling, infrastructure, sort of working with startups and all of that. So you remember a few years ago, we'd made at that time our largest investment of $10 billion in the India Development Fund, and we have invested in large companies. So we've been standing with India. This recent announcement is the biggest investment yet, but I want to point out that it's been consistent investment over a long period of time in India.
Sure.
And the moment felt right because when you look at, we are at an inflection point as a country. The power of AI to transform India, not only in the enterprise, in the business segment, but also for Indians and users and in systemic challenges, solving for those is huge. And so a gigawatt scale data center is very critical. Think of it as building a very strong foundation for the infrastructure that is required in a post-AI world, right? Because compute is critical. The train can't run unless the rails are really well set and function smoothly. So that's one. And it wasn't just about a data center. We also spoke about undersea cables, opening up a new gateway, because you need that connectivity and low latency when you're looking at any of the large models being used in these very different spaces. And the third thing equally critical for us in that investment is sources of energy. We're going to add back to the India grid and through green energy sources. And outside of that, we've also announced other partnerships with other local ecosystem partners in the space where we are investing in green energy, whether it's Rajasthan or Karnataka or Gujarat, solar energy, wind energy, and all of that is a very important part of our ethos for greener energy. And the moment is right. Like I said, it builds on continued investment. This is the biggest ever. And we are standing with India. It's an unconditional support. We are optimistic about the possibilities of founders and companies innovating from India to build for the world.
Very recently, there were reports of how XAI, Grok, has not been performing well. There are concerns that were raised by multiple countries to a point where they've had to issue a statement and apologize. What I would then want to ask is that if you're looking at an approach that encompasses all the players, does that then require perhaps more state-led regulation, or is it more attuned to the industry's needs to have self-regulation? Which of the two? How do we balance?
I think, first of all, I would say that because we have been in the space of machine learning and AI for the last 10 plus years, I mean, when you think about search or you think about how our algorithm works, it's based off AI. It's generative AI that became a big thing 3 years ago, right? But we've been using AI in our products. So I would like to say, I don't know if this is the right term, but if we are the adults in the room, because of just the experience built over time, right? So it is when we have a best practice, then we also talk to other industry forums to say, hey, here's a best practice that can be picked up. From where we come from, it is about balancing the creativity and innovation and self-regulation and the, what shall I say? We were the first ones to come up with AI principles a few years ago before AI was even widely spoken of. So in Google, there were enough Googlers who debated and said there must be guardrails. So what are the principles that Google lives by when we think about developing our AI?
Sure.
So having those AI principles, what is it that you will build in as checks and balances? What is the culture, the red teaming of models we do, where one model will challenge the other model to come up with poke holes so that they're the best outcome for the ultimate end consumer and user. So I think self-regulation to a great degree with the right appropriate guardrails. It has to be the right balance.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. More news and updates continue right here.